Morning, Kindlech. Here to learn some Chassidus this morning, God willing, from a mimer from Tafshin Tet-Vav. I think it was also reprinted in Tafshin and Aleph. Well, it was said in Tes-Vav and most likely edited and reprinted in Aleph. Anyway, it is now the end of Tishrei, but thought maybe we'd learn a Hanukkah mimer anyway. So this is in Contrasim Hay. It starts on page Kuf Tes-Vav. It's from Shabbos Parshas V'Yesev, from Shams Varchim Tevis. And let's see what we got. As always, learning to bind our soul to God, give pleasure to God, hasten redemption, and further the Rebbe's malchus for those who believe in it. And yeah, let's spread some Chassidus. This is what makes the Rebbe happy. Baruch She'asah Nissim Tes-Vav. Blessed is Hashem that did all the miracles for our forefathers in those days in these days at this time. It's referring to the Hanukkah miracles, and we also say this by Purim as well. So I was saying, thank you, God, for all the Hanukkah miracles. I don't know if we need to run through all the Hanukkah miracles right now, but the oil and the military victory are two of the big two. And there's a lot to say about the oil, that they found it, and that it had the seal still on it, burned for all those days. Alright, just trying to find a place I can put the safer and I'll switch the recording here. Good morning, everybody. Hope you're going to have a great day. So then Myra continues. Maybe I'll sit back like this. Myra continues. And the Rebbe Rashab, who was two Rebbeim previous. There was the Rebbe Rayatz, who was the Rebbe's father-in-law, and then the Rebbe Rayatz's father, is the Rebbe Rashab. And he had a mimer with a similar title. You know, a mimer is a Hasidic freestyle, so to speak, where the Rebbe has to hold a handkerchief just to stay in the world. He himself doesn't even know what he's going to say. The Sikh is a prepared talk. So the Rebbe Rashab explained it in a mimer with a similar title, Nisim Loshin Rabim Haim, that it's interesting that it says miracles here. It's plural. Nosef al Nisim Rabim. Gam Riboy Sigui Nisim. The Rebbe explains over there that it doesn't just mean many miracles in number, it means many types of miracles. There's a lot of different levels of miracles. So, I know what we're going to get into. Generally refer to a miracle as something that breaks nature, but even within this level, or maybe there's even other levels, we could say there's many categories. Sorry, Klahavin. So the Rebbe says, let's ask a question. The Inyan Aribo is this idea that there's levels and types of miracles, that's all within Seder Shtashlis. Seder Shtashlis is the chain down descent of the worlds, referring to order and progression, and things proceed somewhat normally, somewhat more like what we're used to in a way of lights and vessels. For a simple example, your soul would be the light, your body's the vessel, or any other example that you like. And as before the first contraction, there was just Hashem in His name and a great light, and everything was on a God level, completely infinite. And Hashem made, so to speak, a great contraction, which there's a lot to talk about that, and Chabad has a lot to say about that. And afterwards, there was a measured light, and this measured light could, through screens and diminishments, be form worlds, actually form worlds as we know it, and even the physical world that we see. So once Hashem made the giant contraction and then created a limited light that had the capacity to create all these different worlds, then you have division and differentiation. But Rebbe seems to be implying pretty strongly that before the first Simpson, we didn't have this possibility for a differentiation or division. See? Commotions Bar Leil B'Divrei Moscow Pesach Liyahu, like explained earlier, Shehasharish to Hanhaga TVs. So let's say a few general things that refer to the Seder Shtashlis business, this order of descent. It tends to refer to order and progress. It tends to refer to reason, things that make sense, things you can do, you could reason out, you could logic out. The causes and effects tend to be related one to the other, like, Chochmah and Bina. That even after the Chochmah is enclosed in the Bina, you could still look back and find the point of Chochmah, or even within the Chochmah itself, you could find all those points of Bina. Things are ordered; they make sense. Nature, as we're saying here, versus miraculous. So we have nature versus miraculous, makes sense versus beyond sense, limited versus unlimited. So these are some of the big compare and contrast from within Seder Shtashlis to beyond Seder Shtashlis. So it's hard to know how much to introduce when we're just starting, but we'll see as we go forward. So generally speaking, we say that nature, the sun going up and coming down, that's something that comes from Seder Shtashlis, and this idea of miracles comes from beyond Seder Shtashlis, beyond the natural order. Once it's within the natural order, it kind of runs, Derech Mamela, it goes how it's supposed to go. The sun goes up, comes down, whatever it is. But for these supernatural things that might happen in a person's lifetime, we should all live forever and ever. The Rebbe says we could have eternal life in these bodies, we just have to Makabel Panim Sheikhs Kena, whatever that means. And keep in mind, you're Makabel and your guest, it's coming to take you over forever and ever, so be ready for that. We should have eternal life and ultimate redemption. It should just be already. The Yidden have suffered enough. It's time to be free. Tati, take us out. Give everybody a bracha. Whoever needs a b'sher should find a b'sher. Whoever needs cash should have cash. Whoever needs nachas should have nachas. Whoever needs kids should have kids. Whoever needs health should have health, for sure. Whoever needs friends should have friends. Whoever needs a little pick-me-up should have it. Should feel good and how much God loves them. Let's hear it out. Okay, so it seems a little contradictory that the Rebbe Rashab explained that there's a lot of qualities of miracles, but it seems like miracles stem from a place where it's beyond division. So I'm kind of curious, how could it be that its source is so far beyond division, and yet once it's manifest, we find levels of distinction? So that's question one. How can there be a lot of types of miracles if their source is beyond types? And another question that everyone wants to ask. I was saying to him, that the quote we brought at the beginning was, "Blessed is Hashem who does miracles for our forefathers." And it's well known that forefathers refer to Chochmah and Bina. Chochmah is the flash of the idea when it first popped into your head. Boom, that initial inspiration. And it's the point where if I interrupted you right then, you wouldn't be able to retain the knowledge. It would drift back into Koach Moskil because it hadn't settled in you yet. It just was the flash. And in Bina is once you get a chance to wrestle with the flash and pull it apart and see all the details, make it part of your intellect and your heart and your entire being, God willing. Then you got it. I can interrupt you. I'd come back later. You got it. But generally, the forefathers refer to Chochmah and Bina. And Nes, the word for miracle, is generally a language that shows on something exalted. So it seems that this idea of a miracle for our forefathers is talking about some sort of harama and aliyah for Chochmah and Bina, some sort of that Chochmah and Bina themselves are going to somehow become exalted, that they're going to get an aliyah, they're going to be lifted up, it seems to be saying that the person perceiving the miracle, his or her Chochmah or Bina, is going to get a great elevation from this miracle, from seeing it. They're going to be somehow upgraded in the Chochmah and Bina department, in an exalted and elevated way. Alright, so let's see how that goes. But Sarik Bir, Mahuain and Aliyah Chochmah Bina, the Rebbe says, what does this mean for Chochmah and Aliyah, Bina, to have an aliyah? And a further question, what's the relevance between this idea of Chochmah and Bina getting an upgrade to miracles? Alright, so we asked quite a few questions, but let's not lose sight of the main verse. The main verse is, Blessed is Hashem who does miracles for our forefathers. So miracles generally stem from a place beyond the natural order, and that place is characterized by oneness. But nevertheless, this quote that we've read, and in the Mimer from the Rebbe Marash, the Rebbe Rashab, the Rashab, seems to say there's a lot of types of miracles. So how could it be there's a lot of types, distinction, and division when their source is a place of oneness? 2, we know that forefathers refers to Chochmah and Bina, so it seems like Chochmah and Bina are going to get an upgrade. What does that mean for Chochmah and Bina to get an upgrade? And lastly, if I can leave anything out, what does Chochmah and Bina getting an upgrade have to do with miracles? So those are 3 questions for Os Aleph. And the Kudas Abir Bezeh, the main point in explaining all this, the Shorsh Day on Haggis, on Haggativus, and Hagganisa, Yichud Chochmah and Bina. This is interesting. It seems like whether you're talking about things functioning in a natural way or in a supernatural way, both of those processes stem from a unity of Chochmah and Bina. I guess they can unite in a way that leads to natural order, and they can unite in a way that leads to a supernatural effect. So let's see how that works. Because there's 2 types. Let's see where this is discussed more. Yeah, they're going to say there's a Panemius and Chatsonius joining. It's discussed in the Pri-Eitz Chaim, Kutei Torah, Sefer Marim, Tuf Reish Nun Zayin, and other places. Okay, I guess it's well discussed. Okay. So, there are going to be 2 fusions of Chochmah and Bina, external and external. And, you could meet a person casually, shake their hand, you did meet, or you could meet them and be on your way, or you could meet them, have a long, intimate talk, and then they really get to know you get to know them, you get to know him or her. And that's a much more internal connection than just a quick greeting, hey, how you doing? So, these Chochmah and Bina, which are said to be 2 friends that never part, could have a more internal fusion or a more external fusion or union. And depending on that leads to either natural or supernatural processes, effects, or ways of thinking, whatever it's going to be. Let's see. It's exciting. All right, let's see what we're going to get. Let's say over the mind. Let's see what the Rebbe has to say. Zivug Sony to Chochmah Bina. If it's just an external union, the Zivug Zehu Tari L'Surikiyam Ha'olamos, which is constant. The external fusion of Chochmah Bina is all the time, all day, every day, and that's so that the worlds will stay in effect. If Chochmah Bina dissociated, to be a problem for the worlds, stay in effect. And then the footnote tells me that the internal fusion isn't quite the same. It takes actually effort and work. So I guess there's an external fusion. It sounds like it's almost automatic, that they're just always connected, doing their thing. I gotta tell you guys, I love you. You're all Jews. You're beautiful. You're all from one father, one mother. Not to mention Anna Marisha and Chava Rishon. We're all from Noach. All children of Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, Sarah, Rachel, Leah, and Rivka. And I love you guys. Your blood and my blood, my flesh and your flesh. Your blood and my blood, and your flesh and my flesh. And hope everyone's well. Kids, happiness, and well-being. If one way to always become closer to the Almighty and stay in your body is learn Chassidus. So let's make it happy. Let's see what we got. Look at that. All right. So there's an external fusion that's needed for all the time, just to make the worlds run. Okay, now Haga Oilam and Shechas B'china Zu Shekadosh Baruch Hu Manigas and Avraham Shav Oilam L'Finyan. And according to this type of level, this is where, so to speak, Hashem draws from to make the world run according to the natural order. The sun goes up, comes down, I don't know, birds fly around, people walk, whatever you consider natural. All the natural processes that run and exist and that we see every day all around us, that stems from an external fusion of Hashem's Chochmah Bina, just so that the world will stay in existence. Hashem has to keep his external Chochmah Bina in extent just so that the world will continue to exist. That there's a frame, there's something to work with, there's a context, something to talk about. Shurish, I think I skipped something. Kol nivra l'fituchun v'tivo. Yeah, the way Hashem, every creature has what it needs. It works a certain way. It has a certain content. That gets its food in a certain way. Goes to bed a certain time. Gets up a certain time. Should have a bracha. Should all go to bed on time. Get up on time. And learn properly. Keep the seder. Whatever you need. Have a lot of kids. Whatever it might be. All the good things. A lot of cash. And a lot of nachas. And Shkashis the Rebbe. Alright, so just to keep the world running where everything has its unique identity and its needs are filled and its certain content, that comes from external fusion of Hashem's Chachma Bina. V'shorsh Tanhaga Nisi, Shagash Bargam was Eilam Kviritzono, Velokafi Tkumus Tava Eilam, Mazivu Pnim Chachma Bina. And the supernatural effects that a person might see in the world, which I think we have to be careful here how we're defining it. We're defining when Hashem runs the world in a natural way. That means every creature gets according to its needs and content. Every specific need and unique division and separation creation is acknowledged and nurtured and brought out to, God willing, make this beautiful symphony in God's garden. But the the supernatural way that Hashem runs the world, I thought we would be emphasizing that you would see something supernatural, see the sea split or something like that. But which may or may not be. But what we're emphasizing here is the way Hashem's running the world. He's not running it according to the differentiations within creation, the particular needs and content of each creation. He's running it just according to what He wants, according to His supernal will. And whatever the world happens to be or doesn't happen to be is irrelevant at that point. It's just how He wants to run it. The sun came up not because that's the natural effect, it's because God wanted. So it's almost, maybe we could say two ways of looking at the same event. You could tell me the sun came up because nature this, that, and the next thing. Or you could tell me the sun came up because God wanted the sun to come up. He could make the sun come up, He can make it go down, He can go left, right, center, whatever He wants. So what do you see? What do you see when the sun comes up in the morning? Do you see God's will manifest because Hashem's making the sun come up? Or do you see, hey, that's what happens every day as a natural order here, Hashem's sort of letting it run in an automatic, God forbid, impersonal way, as if He were removed. But I don't know if we're going to do two different lenses of the same event, or if we are going to bring out another distinction or way of looking at it. But for the time being, we're saying that natural means running the universe according to the special needs and content of each creation. Supernatural is not just how I want it, no consideration for the creation, just what the Creator has in mind. And that comes from the internal union of Chachma Bina. So when Hashem unites His Chachma Bina internally, then the world just runs according to how He wants. And when He unites it externally, then it runs according to the particular needs of each creation. But either way, the world is running. So I think it's going to be which way do we see it. Hashem does want the sun to come up and come down. Alright, let's see which way it goes. I guess we're going to start to answer at least one of our first three questions in those out. And this is the connection of what does it mean, miracles for our forefathers, to the explanation that we gave that had to do with exaltation and elevation of Chachma Bina. Even with miracles in their simple sense, Shinai Teva. Because the way that the world's constructed, which is dependent on the flow that comes from God's Chachma Bina, the way they are into themselves, if you just look at Chachma Bina the way they are in natural order, that's like a default way of looking at it. It's like the backdoor plan, the default plan. The world's got to run. It's got to definitely run. The sun does have to come up, come down. They need the world to work, so people will eat, move around, and get what they need. And that's just sort of because Chachma Bina exists. This will happen. This is just because they exist. This is gonna be. If I'm standing in front of you and your eyes are open, you're gonna see me. It's just. Once you put your foot on the accelerator, the car goes. But that makes it sound like you have to do something. But it's just from the mere way that Hashem made Chachma Bina, you get a certain connection. The world's run, it works, it doesn't take any effort. I open my eyes, I see the sun went up, went down. You don't have to be a great sage to see the sun went up and down and see that it goes the same way every day. That doesn't really take any effort. I looked, I saw, I took the simplest explanation of what I saw, and I kept going about my day because, I don't know, whatever it was I wanted to do. But maybe if we think into it a little bit, let's see if that's where the Rebbe is going. But to get a more miraculous view, I'm pushing the mimer a certain way. I don't know if we're actually going this way, but at any point, just a person could look around the world and see nature, or he could see supernatural. I mean, you could see me standing here, because a human being can stand in front of you and talk and read Torah, Baruch Hashem, and do certain things. Or you could say, wow, that's a miracle. Look at, he can stand and speak. And just the fact that we can walk, breathe, and talk is a miracle. I mean, if you really break it down, that Hashem is creating us is a miracle. So it seems like the Rebbe is trying to teach us to train our eyeballs, but we haven't said that explicitly yet, so I'm worried to put that out there. Anyway, but the miraculous conduct comes from the internal fusion of Chachma and Bina, and it also involves that they have an elevation. You got to take your Chachma and Bina upstairs, and it seems like if you're able to do that, you're able to draw down this sort of supernatural view that comes from internal fusion. We did say one other thing here that I wanted to bring out. Rebbe says we can say now why miracles for our forefathers, how that connects, how that refers to an elevation of Chachma Bina with miracles in the simple sense. Alright, so it just seems like we're saying when Chachma Bina get elevated, that's when you get some miracles. At the same time, I can be the same, I don't want to say me, but a person could be the same simple person and have a very simple, natural way of looking, and if you see the sea split, he still saw a miracle. But his Chachma and Bina weren't necessarily elevated. Maybe after he saw the miracles, it would be. Go up, realize God's running the world the way he wants, and everything's just how God wants. The main thing is to remember God's good. He's good all the time, and to trust Him and love Him and know it's for the best, not only for the best, but for the perfect, couldn't be better best. But miracles come from an elevation of Chachma and Bina. And when this happens, it's an internal fusion where the world is no longer reckoned, and it's just the will that's present at this point. But in their standard state, it leaves room for division, and everything else in the world is just a regular world. And it runs how it runs. Okay. Oz Gimel. Ubir Inyan Ashayfis de Nisim the Zugi Panimi de Chachma Bina. So what does this have to do with? I understand there's a difference between natural and supernatural. It's just between the way I might look and I might not look. But at the end of the day, what are these two styles of fusion? How Chachma and Bina might fuse. Vipratius Yoser. The Rebbe says, let's get into it. You and Behektam Mashin is Bar Le'il, but the Ramaskal Pesliot, and Haggis at Teva, Shikosh Burgam on its own, Kol Niver Lefi Inyano, the Morsh and Haggaz Zush and Nirim Tosim Makum, who Bukinas Das Takin Shlamata, Yeshu Amala Ayan. Okay, we're going to talk about the same process, we're going to map it into a little bit different set of terms. It's the same idea, just going to do a little bit remap. It's kind of like math. This is a lot like math, you know. All the answers to all your questions are in here somewhere. And that's, if you're just starting to learn, don't get thrown off if you have some questions. It might seem big to you, but believe me, someone else had your question, there's an answer, you know. Especially if you're just starting, you know, you're not the biggest Bucky Bashas yet, so, you know, ask somebody that you trust, and, you know, feel free to ask them for their source. They know, but someone you trust you could talk to, you know, go ask. Don't get worked up that you have a question, just go ask, find the answer. Not so hard. See, a lot of these questions are answered by Rashi. It's funny when you meet someone, they have a question. I think it's the world's biggest question. Oh, come on. Just go ask your local rabbi and see what he has to tell you. And if he doesn't know, you know, hopefully he'll refer you to someone who does. Or, you know, mostly you should be nice, be doing high, everything else. But, you know, generally, unless you're an expert in your field, how worked up are you going to be that you had a question? Go talk to somebody. You know, talk to someone who's quote unquote an expert. Anyway. As far as Chachma and Bina go, Rebbe says we can understand these two types of fusion based on something we learned in an earlier mimer, Pesach Eliyahu. This idea that the natural order has to do with Hashem running the world according to the content and personality and makeup of each particular creation, that all these different distinctions are reckoned and nurtured and cherished, and everyone gets just, he makes you get the chocolate cake and I get the ice cream sundae, and everything's, oh, perfect. Or maybe I want the chocolate cake, I'm not sure. Actually, I want them both, and the cookies. But I'll share. Just hurts. Okay. You can have yours, I don't mind. Now, whatever it is, Hashem gives and he gives very nice. He gives good. But this one way, when the world is running in this way, or a person is perceiving the world to run in this way, it shows that according to this order of contact, the world and all its particular details, it has meaning to God. It has a certain bearing and effect. Not bearing and effect. It has a certain importance to God, that these distinctions should be there and they should be represented and nurtured and this and that. And we refer to this way of looking, where that God should care that there's all these different things and different creations and care about all their little needs. We call that das Takton, the lower side of knowledge. And we're also saying that when you look at things this way, that you'll say that the creation is yesh, an existence. I do see a creation. And the creator is ayin. He's nothing. It's a little strange, but pretty sure what we mean by ayin here is he's way beyond anything I can understand, and also he's removed from, even though he is the cause of creation, obviously God's creating everything, he's so removed from the creation, you can't see the relation cause to effect. You can't trace back in a logical way from creation to creator. I mean, depending on what you understand the word logic to mean, you could argue with me, okay, I see a human being, or I see anything physical, I know God's enlivening something from nothing, I do see. But you can't see it in a way that if you see your friend knock over the Coke bottle, that you can trace the cause and effect, and you can see, you can work back what happened. You know that God's enlivening you, and Baruch Hashem, God willing, maybe hopefully soon you could see it, and I hope you do see it. I hope we should all see it very soon. I mean, ultimate redemption be with the Almighty. But most people don't see it. It's something you understand, and you've reasoned, and you figured out through running a citizen, or Rebbeinu told you, or just from simple thinking. I mean, stuff comes from somewhere, right? Or whatever. That's for me. And you look into it, or, many people have reasoned this out. The idea that all the stuff's just there is a pretty weak idea. But anyway, let's say you did the proper way. You learned it from Siddur, you heard it from the Rebbe. The Rebbe is a paragon of truth, so he's the ultimate chassid and tzaddik and everything else. So very giving and kind, reveals light, and lets us have reveal goodness and kindness and all kind of good happiness and things while we're in the midst of making Hashem happy. And makes our service smooth, hopefully easy if you can have easy service, and if you have easy service. And he makes us very happy. He's a very giving, happy guy. So you leaned on him, you got the answer. So I'm pretty sure that's what it means. That, let's say there's a perspective that nature does exist, and from this perspective, the world has meaning to God, and we're going to refer to the world as having existence and God as if, let's say, he's beyond existence. That's a nice way to say it. And but if in the supernatural way of looking, where God's just like running the world according to what he wants, he could care less what the content of the world is and all the different creations. It's just, hey man, it's my world, it's what I want, I'm just running according to my desires. That there happens to be different creations with different needs and looks and styles, that's irrelevant. It's just the only reason it is because I want it. It's not because, this thing has this thing, so I want it. No, it's just what I want. And I didn't say it as well as I'd liked. Anyway, but just because of what I want. I can go to the store because we need milk, and my, God willing, one of my children will, I don't want them to need, but so, God willing, we should all have children, and, maybe. Anyway, so someone explained to me that maybe the needs could be a good thing, and, I think because it's a proactive, you should go do good things. But anyway, I'm going to fulfill a specific need. I could just have a will to go to the store. I don't care what's going on in my household or everything else. I just desire to go to the store. Nothing exists for this desire. So when you look at things this way, this shows that the whole world doesn't really play a significant role against Hashem's will. Ibichin is das elyon We're going to call that Das Elyon. It's just God and the way he sees it. God's mind. Shalamayla yesh lamantain. And from this way of looking, God is what exists. In the world, that's not. There's no world. It's just God. It's God and what he wants. The world, it's a fact. What happens to happen. World, Alright. I have to finish up. Behine stay Deus Ela Binyan Spheres. Aim Hachman Bina. And these two types of knowledge, when it comes to Hachman Bina, the Hachman Nirgish Yarin Sofu Yeshamiti Vikula Kamakla Peshiv. Alright, yes, either way of looking, where the world does have meaning to God, or where the word God is all that exists, these are both in the spheres of Hachman Bina. Let's see how that works. Because a Jew's level of Chachma can feel that that the infinite light is the true existence, and nothing really has any significance in comparison to God's ultimate light. God's infinite light is really the one true existence that goes forever and ever, and in comparison, everything else is temporary and pretty meaningless. Das Elyon Shalmaila Yesh Lamanta Island Bina She'asah. And what's Bina? It's grasping, you're getting it. What are you getting? The Saga Himatsias Yesh. And a saga is by the time I get it, it's my understanding. If you could break the world of intellect into things, how do you say it? You know, you could have a specific idea, and it could be your idea, and then I can't really point to it, but I could say, hey, that's your idea. I could write it on the board and go, that's your idea. There's a thing. I'm pointing at it like I'm pointing to an apple. That's what Bina can do. It makes it brings it into the universe. It makes it almost, I can't say a physical thing, but it makes it an identifiable thing that we can point at. This level of knowledge is written on the board. I can point at. That's what Bina accomplishes. Chachma more feels the greatness of the Almighty, and he knows nothing really has any bearing to it, and it's not. And from this way of looking, the only real existence is God, and the world's not much. But once you bring it down into Bina, then the world does exist because it's your idea and you're thinking, and then there's the other guy who's not you, and hopefully he's starting to understand your idea, or discussing it with you, or whatever it is. And there you do have distinction and comprehension and chiluki madregas and all these things, and differentiation. And there it does seem like by the time you're understanding something, it does seem like the world exists because you exist, your understanding exists, now you're already separated from your fellow man and whatever you're saying. By Hachma, it's just really the only thing that exists is God, and there's not much else. And happens to be you're there meditating about it, but you're in a place where really all that exists is God, and the world doesn't mean too much. And we need both. We need to be so inspired that all that exists is God, and He can do everything, and we don't have anything to worry about, and He'll take care of us. We also have to know He made us individuals for a reason, so we could go out and accomplish our unique mission in life. The world needs you. You have to be out there to fill a certain gap and make certain things happen. And both are needed to get. All right, we got to finish. And even though Bina can understand that nothing has any importance next to God, so doesn't that mean, doesn't that run some overlap with Chachma? Let's see where the Rebbe takes it. Ain't in nirgish, but doesn't feel it. Alright, yeah, there's a big difference between knowing something and feeling something. So by Chachma, you really feel that all that exists is God. Michelle get in touch with that feeling. And by Bina, you know all that exists is God, but you don't really feel. It's just like another thing I could write on the board. It's nice, I wrote it on the board. It is true, but what's more emphasized is your idea. You're you. You're not the other guy. You're not the board. You're not the chalk on the board. You're not the idea. So you see distinction. But a particular idea a person could utter or understand is nothing has any meaning besides God. But does that mean he felt God's omniscience and omnipresence and didn't really feel himself? No, could be very well he is very conscious of himself, all his processes, or her processes, her ideas, and just articulated this idea as something that came out of their mind. So Bina gets it, but doesn't feel it so much. Chachma really feels it. Let's see what we got left. And we'll say the fact that the person understands this idea, it does have an existence. I wrote it on the board. Nothing compares to God. Put a little check mark. It does have a certain existence here. This understanding is the opposite of the Hergesh L'Cheshiv. When I think to myself, wow, nothing has any comparison to God. When I'm thinking about it, what I'm really feeling is me and my intellect and my perception. By Chochmah, it's more just feeling the Almighty, like you sense it, like a little bit of intuition. Anyway, we should all have that. I do have to close here. Hopefully we'll pick up tomorrow. Just want to mark my page. God willing. It's very enjoyable. Thank you for helping me learn Chassidus. You should all start websites and teach Chassidus and spread the wellsprings. Then we'll have Mashiach a lot sooner in the fully revealed sense. Many of us believe the Rebbe is here, but we want him fully revealed, where we can see him, shake his hand, get kosher bracha, give him a big hug and a kush, all those type of things. But we've learned today that miracles stem from a union of Chochmah and Bina. It can be two types of union, internal and external. Internal is just God's will. All that exists is God. And external is where the worlds could exist and it's constant. But to get this internal union, it takes some effort to really kind of lift yourself up to see that there's only God and just God's will and God's way of doing things. Anyway, give you a bracha that we should all be able to perceive the truth, that God's all that exists, and how good He is, and sweet He is, and nice He is. And we should be able to get in touch with that, and have a nice, good, sweet day, and help others. Mashiach.